Hello everyone and welcome back to the final match of the 2020 Chessable Masters between Hikaru Nakamura and the Ding Liren. First, the Ding won the first match, then Hikaru retaliated in the second one, and this is now the third one. Whoever wins this faces Magnus Carlsen in the semifinals of the Chessable Masters. And the first game of the third match ended in a draw. Then this is the second game, and this is the one that we're showing. Hikaru with the white pieces, they go into the line of the Berlin that they already played, but here with a bit of a twist. So let's check it out. Hikaru with the white pieces opens with e4. Sorry about that. I would just like to make a short announcement. If you guys are interested in some other games other than chess, I will be streaming some other games, like some old classics or maybe some newer ones on my Twitch channel. So do check it out if you're interested. I will put a link to my Twitch channel in the description below. But if you're just interested in chess, most of the big chess streams that I will stream will still be on YouTube, of course. So that being said, Ding replies with e5. We have knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez is on the board. As we mentioned, it's going to be a nice Berlin. So knight f6 and d3. So the same line they already played. Bishop c5, captures, and now just castles. We have knight to d7, defending the e5 pawn. We already mentioned this many times. Knight is coming to c4 to add another attacker to e5, so black castles, knight to c4, and rook to e8. Now defending the e5 pawn, we have a4, and now Ding just prevents any further expansion by going a5. And here king to h1 and b3 are known moves, but now bishop to e3. Hikaru offers a trade of dark square bishops, and it would be very good if this knight came over here. You have access to the f5 square, and if black wants to prevent it, you either have to weaken your king side further, or you will have to give up your bishop for the knight. So instead, Ding goes bishop to b4, and this is a really interesting move. It's a really interesting move because it kind of baits c3, and it's very interesting what happens here. So here, first knight f to d2. Preparing to bring this knight over to c4 after this knight moves, but also freeing up the f4 pawn if needed. So f6 now just strengthening the pawn, and c3 now kicking the bishop back, but also adding support for future d4. So bishop back to f8, and now queen to c2. So just continuing development, we have b6 by Ding, and now d4. We have e captures on d4, and now c captures on d4. And now what's very interesting, and this is probably my favorite move of the game, you know how when you're playing a game, you have to, how do I develop my pieces? Which piece position can I improve? Can I optimize something? Which piece of mine is doing nothing? Which piece of mine is really terrible? Can I improve it? And here you might think of a lot of moves, but the move Ding plays I really liked. He plays knight back to b8, and it seems weird, like you don't have any of the pieces pretty much developed, and you bring your knight back. But the hardest move to find often is a move with the knight back, and here you're planning knight to a6 to b4, and with the c and a pawn being gone, you do not have any pawns to kick away this knight from b4, and b4 will be an excellent outpost for the knight, so that's why knight to b8. And okay, there's nothing white can do to prevent this, so Hikaru continues developing. Rook 8 to c1, we have knight to a6, and rook f to d1 now. We have knight to b4, and now queen to b1, as the queen is under attack, and now bishop to e6. So just continuing development, preparing to bring the queen over to put more pressure here on the knight and on the b3 square. So b3, defending, and now queen to d7 with the plan we already mentioned. f3, Hikaru strengthening the center, and now queen to f7. And here bishop back to f2. We have rook e to d8 now, putting the rook on the d file, and now you might have some problems if b5 comes. Then captures, the knight has to move, might be a lot of pressure on the c3 pawn. So here Hikaru does a rook lift, rook to c3, to help out with the defense of the third rank. But b5 nonetheless. So the knight is under attack. We have knight back to b2. Now the knight and rook are both guarding the pawn here, and the knight covers the a4 square if b captures on a4 happens. So here we have rook 8 to b8 by Ding. He wants to capture on a4 and have his rook on the same file as Hikaru's queen. So Hikaru captures instead. We have a captures on b5, and now not c captures, but rather rook captures. Ding still wants to have his rook over on the b file. We have knight b to c4 now, and here comes a4. So that's why the rook wanted to capture on b5. And the point is, if you go b captures on a4, the problem is this knight to d5 is just very strong for black. Now you have problems. Your queen is under attack, your rook is under attack, and if you go for captures, then just captures and you will lose the other rook as well, and after that you will also lose the knight on c4 and so on. So after a4, we have rook d to c1. Now such ideas are no longer a problem because this rook is nicely defended. And here we have rook back to a8 by Ding. B captures on a4, rook d to c1, and now rook to a8. Now preparing a3 to create a pass pawn here. So b captures on a4 now, attacking the pawn, and now knight to d5 doesn't do anything, because if knight to d5 now, you can simply capture the rook, and there is no problem. After knight captures, you will simply recapture the knight, and this is defended twice. All is well. White is up a piece, and of course winning. So after b captures on a4, we have rook captures on a4, and here we have rook to a3. It's not an easy position for white, and it's hard to find a move. A lot of nasty discoveries are lurking everywhere. And here Hikaru played rook to a3. Now he wants to make this trade happen here, and he also wants to get his knight away from c4. However, this doesn't work. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for Ding while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on being an excellent discoverer of nasty discoveries. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's knight to a2. And now the point is, your queen is under attack and your rook is under attack, and you cannot defend both. And the problem with queen captures knight here is that now you can play rook captures on a3, and the knight cannot recapture because it's pinned. So that's Ding's plan. Hikaru says, I'm not giving you the exchange. That's like resigning. I mean, I don't have any compensation here. So after rook to a3 and knight to a2, Hikaru actually played rook captures on a4. He sacrificed the queen. And okay, Ding said rook captures on b1. We have rook captures on b1, and now knight to c3. Not only that, but the Ding will also now pick up one of the rooks. So rook b to a1. And now knight captures on a4. We have rook captures on a4, and here queen to e8. And now Hikaru has a knight and a rook for a queen, which is not terrible. And he does have a better pawn structure. He's, well, he doesn't have much, but it is still playable. So rook to a6, he goes for the pawn here, and now queen to c8. Another brilliant, well, tactic slash trap from Ding, attacking the rook, pushing the rook back, and asking what do you want to do here. And here Hikaru should definitely go back. However, he went for rook captures on c6. And now, once again, feel free to pause the video and try to find the winning move for Ding here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that the rook has no escape squares. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop to d7. And now the rook really doesn't have any escape squares. This is covered by the dark square bishop, light square bishop, pawn, queen, and you don't have anything here. c5 also covered by the bishop. So the Nakamura played knight to b6 here. Of course, you cannot capture because rook would capture queen, but it still doesn't help. Queen b7, and now the rook is under attack. So you can move the rook and lose a piece, or you can give up yet another exchange. So here knight captures on d7, queen captures on c6, and now knight captures on f8. We have queen to c1 with check first, knight to f1, and now comes king captures on f8. And now it's a queen against a bishop and knight. However, it's not all that simple, because well, here we have g4 by Nakamura, g6, and now king to g2. We have f5. Ding wants to open up the position to make use of the queen. So g captures on f5, we have g captures and knight to g3 now, going after the pawn, now asking, do you want to push or do you want to trade? And here Ding just trades very confidently. We have captures, and now Ding starts bringing the king into the game. King f7, and now h4. We have h6 and knight to g3. And now if you look at the position, it's not easy to spot how black can win this, because you cannot push this pawn, you cannot push this pawn. The pawn and bishop cover the c5 square, so that pawn is not going anywhere. So how do you make progress here with only the queen and the king? Ding goes king to e6 with knight to e4 and king to d5. Now we have knight back to g3. Hikaru is very happy, just repeating moves, saying you come up with a plan. King c4 by Ding, and here Hikaru goes h5. He says, okay, my pawn will be nicely defended on h5. We have queen to g5, now pinning the knight. Also, the knight cannot move or you lose the pawn. We have bishop to g1, just repeating moves, and now king back to d5. So Ding decided to do something else now. We have bishop to f2, king e6, bishop back to g1, and queen to d2 with check. We have bishop back to f2, and now queen to d3. And now it's very interesting. How do you break through? Here Nakamura tried a very active plan. He doesn't want to try and keep the king away from the pawns, but it's very interesting what happens if, let's say, bishop to g1. What happens if you just repeat bishop g1, bishop f2? How do you win? You win by going king f6, and then after, let's say, white repeats, then you get finally to g5, and once you land on f4, that's just winning. For example, bishop g1, king f4, and now the f3 pawn falls, and there's not much you can do about this. So Hikaru instead went for a different plan, an active one, knight f2. He allows the king to go for the f5 square, which Ding does. We have king to f5, and now knight e3 check. King g5, now the king will be able to gobble up the h5 pawn. And now knight to g4. Now he wants to play bishop e3 and then pick up the pawn on h6. So if you eliminated this pawn, then it's much closer to sort of a fortress, and for white to actually get a draw here. So king captures on h5 and the bishop to e3. But now another excellent move from Ding, queen c3, saying, okay, if you capture with the knight, I just capture your bishop, and if you capture with the bishop, I'm gonna capture your pawn here, and then the passed c pawn just wins. So king f2, guarding the bishop, now preparing to bring capture with the knight, but now king h4. And now there's a problem here. You still cannot capture on h6. If you capture with the knight, then comes queen c2 check, king f1, and king g3, and there's not much you can do here. Checkmate is near. You can go knight f5 check, king captures on f3, but now you're getting checkmated. There's no way to avoid this. And also, well, the knight is just under attack. It's pointless to continue this. So here, what Hikaru played is bishop captures on h6. If you don't do this, if you just allow the pass pawn to be pushed forward, it's game over. So might as well just capture it. So he captured it, but now Ding captures the d4 pawn. It comes with check, king e2, now king g3. We have bishop to d2. And now comes queen to c4 check. We have king to e3, now comes queen b3 check, king to d4, and now c5 check. And now this pawn is just a winning pass pawn. So king e4, and here queen captures on f3 check was played, and it was in this position on move 63 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, and what a brilliant victory for Ding Liren. And now I will mention the result of the third game, as we will not be covering that one. The third game was also won by Ding, which means Ding wins the third match, and Ding goes to the semifinals, and Nakamura is out of the 2020 Chessable Masters. So Ding will face Magnus Carlsen in the semifinals, so we're going to have a lot of action, so no worries there. And yeah, it was quite the game. Really a brilliant tactical game all around from Ding Liren, first winning that exchange, and then Hikaru didn't want to give up the exchange. He gave up the queen, and it was very close to a fortress, but not really, as it, the fortresses are like that. It's always very close to a fortress, but it almost never is. So yeah. That's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Dixit Varma, John Greenblatt, John Gear Law Office, Gary Ricard, and Philip Gleason for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the 2020 Chessable Masters, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.